Welcome to UBO127. Today we have a Raid Shadow Legends video, some new content that's gonna drop for, it's huge for Raid Shadow Legends, and I'm just gonna review it and let's see what they have to offer. Roll the video.
Here's the deal. All the big features we announced in the last What's Next in Raid video are either here already or are coming soon, and it's gonna be a little bit of a wait until our next full fat episode. But don't worry, we have some great stuff planned for the next update. So we've decided to make this sneak peek video to give you a tantalizing look behind the curtain at what's coming further down the line.
Let's see.
First of all, a whole new faction is coming to Raid, the Sylvan
nice.
Watchers. If the High Elves are a little too stuffy for you and the Dark Elves are slightly too brooding, this nature-attuned faction should be right up your street. And for you
Nice.
lore heads, we've got you covered. Expect
that
some
looks
juicy
cool.
info about their history closer to release.
Love
We
it.
don't want to spoil
Living through
too
the
much,
trees.
but let's just say the Sylvan Watchers
I am Groot.
come from a distant corner of Teleria and have acted as allies to the enigmatic Shadowkin in their rebellion against the forces of Cyroth. The Sylvan Watchers aren't all elves, mind you. This diverse faction includes various fey creatures such as dryads, nymph-like warriors, and even monstrous nature spirits. There's plenty of space for creative champion designs that we've not had a chance to play around with before. Are they going to be tropey? Hell yeah, but they'll also look gorgeous. We've seen what the art team have been cooking up, and trust us,
Art looks
there are some
fantastic
super
always.
cool champions coming for this faction. For those already worrying about
Ooh,
faction
tree
wars
vines
and their
come on the
related
ground.
quests, there's going to be a bit of a time lag before we update anything in-game. So you should have plenty of time to finish up with the existing faction crypts before the Sylvan Watchers crypt arrives. As always, we'll keep you updated. Now,
Man,
let's move
animation
on
looks
to other
beautiful.
features. Aside from an awesome nature aesthetic, this faction introduces champions with a completely new buff, Taunt. RPG and card game veterans can probably guess what it does already. Similar to Provoke, champions under a Taunt buff will force enemies to attack them. Unlike Provoke, though, enemy champions are not limited to using their default skills when attacking. If you have multiple taunting champions, the enemy can choose which one to attack. So, time getting your buffs up to match what skills your opponent has available. Even AoE attacks still have to target the taunting champion, but the rest of the attack works as normal. You need to keep in mind how Taunt interacts with other buffs and debuffs. For example, Provoke trumps Taunt, meaning that Provoke champions will still attack the champion who provoked them, even if there is a champion on the other team with an active Taunt buff. If a champion under Veil or Perfect Veil has a Taunt buff active, they will still be targeted despite the Veil. However, if you have two champions with Taunt and one of them has a Veil buff active while the other doesn't, enemies will only be able to target the champion without a Veil buff. Champions outside of the Sylvan Watchers will get skills that can use Taunt in the future, but as of the launch of this update, only a couple of special champions from this faction will have access to this brand new buff. We can't wait to see what strategies you guys come up with using Taunt. Next up, Forge Pass Season 5 will feature a new artifact set called Defiant. This tanky set will increase your champion's defense by 10% and decrease the damage they take from AoE attacks by a whole 15%.
gear.
Think of it like the Stalwart and Defense artifact set smashed together into one. And the best thing? It's a two-piece set. You can kit some champions
yes,
out to
I love
reduce
two-piece
45% of AoE damage, which should be huge in the arena and also against bosses like the Hydra. Definitely a set worth looking into. Finally,
Oh, yeah,
spooky
that's
season
together.
is almost
Beautiful.
upon us, so we've prepared a trio of appropriately frightening champions to celebrate. Our artists wanted to try out some new animation tricks to make these champions stand out, and each one follows a recognizable horror theme to really get you into the Halloween spirit. Let us know what you think about their design in the comments below. And that brings this sneak peek to a close. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to keep your finger on the pulse of Raid Shadow Legends. Until next time.
Alright, so now I'm on the Raid Shadow Legends website. And here's the legendary, I guess she's going to be the fusion, Margine, legendary magic support, undead factions. Alright, so the first ability is Haunt with Hesitation, attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Oh, that's pretty cool. The debuff chance got to 50% with books. I love the fact they're putting what you get with the books but on the side. That's beautiful. Shriek of the A2 Shriek of the Banshee has a 75% chance of stealing all buffs from a target enemy. Wow, stealing all the buffs. Okay. 75% chance of placing a true fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, which could become 100%. Will place 50% decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns. Instead, if the target is a boss. So instead of true fear, because true fear isn't usually put on bosses, it'll do decrease accuracy instead. Okay, decrease speed, decrease accuracy, got it. Veilmancy, 75% chance of decreasing the turn meter of all enemies by 20%. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%. And places 30% increased speed buff on all allies. Wow. She speeds you up. Then her passive is She Who Is Death. At the start of each turn, place the 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns on the enemy with the lowest HP. So you can heal them. That's great. This debuff cannot be removed, transferred, spread, or has its duration increased or decreased by enemies. Also, you can't even touch it. Once you put the heal reduction on you, you're not going to be healed. And her aura is increased ally speed in all battles by 19%. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, we have another legendary, Aloel. He is a void attack champion from the Sylvan Watchers. Legendary. A1 is called Null Scythe. Attacks one enemy, steals all buffs from the target the first time this champion hits them with this skill. This effect cannot be resisted. Wow. Steals all the buffs. Each subsequent time this attack hits an enemy, no buffs will be stolen. Instead, the damage will be increased by 10% for each buff on this target. Wow. So this is going to be a damage dealer, obviously. So A2 is Pierce the Carapace. Attacks one enemy, it will ignore Strengthen, Stone Skin. Ignore Stone Skin. Everybody who just using Stone Skin like crazy in Arena. He's countering that now. Increase. Oh, I wonder if he could steal Stone Skin with an A1. That would be jacked up. They're about to shake up the whole meta. So he ignore increased defense, ally protection. Thank you. Buffs. If his attack kills an enemy, he fully heals his champion. Ooh wee! And places Stone Skin buff on them for 1 turn. Dang, that's crazy. Man, this guy is ridiculous. Yeah, let me get him, please. So the A3, Chill Wind of Autumn. I mean, he already is nasty just with those 2 abilities. Now he has a 3rd one. And he has a lot of text. Attacks all enemies. You can already see it coming. Before attacking, remove any increased defense buffs on the target. Removes them and replaces them with a 60% decrease. Before attacking, removes any increased defense buffs on each target and replaces them with a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. So your increased defense becomes decreased defense. Also removes any strengthened buffs on a target and removes them and replaces them with a 25% weakened debuff. Jeez. So you could do that first, make them weak, and then come in and start doing some crazy stuff. Places black buffs debuff for 1 turn on each enemy under increased defense and strengthened debuff. So if you have both debuffs, if they're not under increased defense or strengthen, then you get a black buffs. Jeez. Which would be everybody. So you just put some black buffs on everybody. The buff removal and the debuff placement cannot be resisted. Jeez. That's just checked up. This guy's incredible. His A3 is Force of Nature. Increases this champion's HP by 2k and defense by 100 for each 1k attack they have. So you make him built for attack and he gives him defense and health. Jeez, that's how you should make all damage dealers, man. That is crazy. Fills this champion's turn meter by 10% whenever they receive a buff. Wow. His aura is increases ally crit rate in all battles by 25%. That's nice. That's nice. Elva, Autumnborn. He's a legendary magic affinity support type champ for the Sylvan Watchers. His A1 is Scepter of Thriving. Attacks one enemy, places a 15% continuous heal buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP. Then his A2 is Nature's Paths. Has 70% chance of removing all debuffs on all allies. So he cleanses you and places black debuffs buff, and a 30% increased speed on all allies. Nice. Then his A3, Sprouting Season, revives a target ally with 40% HP and 50% turn meter, and then places 60% increased defense buff and a 50% increased attack buff on that ally for 2 turns. Nice. Well, his passive is Leaf Shroud. Heals each ally by 10% of their max HP at the start of the turn, so that's like Solid Drakes, and places a Perfect Veil buff for 1 turn on the ally with the lowest HP at the end of this champion's turn. Nice. And then his aura is increase all speed of increase ally speed in all battles by 19%. Man, everybody sounds so nice, man. This is some nice characters. The Green Warden Rurik, and he's a legendary force champion type, defensive type. This is the one with the sword that I like. Sylvan Watchers. The first A1, Sword of the Gills. Glades. Swords of the Glades. Sword of the Glades. Attacks one enemy and transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. So he gets all the debuffs off when he attacks. Heals this champion by 5% of their max HP for each debuff transferred. Nice. His A3, Rust Consume You. Attacks all enemies, has an 80% chance to place a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Also steals all continuous heal buffs from each enemy. This effect cannot be resisted. Wow. His A3 is Call of the Wild. Places a taunt buff, a 60% increased defense buff, and a 25% strengthen buff on this champion for 2 turns. Just on him. So so he reduces your attack and have him attack him, and then you don't do any damage to him. I get it now. Whenever, so he has a passive. They all have passives. Wow, that's pretty cool. Night of Veins. Whenever an ally loses 10% or more of their max HP from a single hit, places a shield buff on that ally for 2 turns equal to 10% of their max HP. So he's kind of like circumventing the max HP thing. So his ally is increased ally defense in all battles by 30%. So he's like a defensive guy. He taunts you and then gets you to attack him while he protects you. Even though I want to use a sword to do some fighting, it's all good. King Kalobar. He's a legendary magic affinity. Everybody's magic affinity. Support, Sylvan Watchers faction, of course. His A1 is Tangle's Staff. Attacks one enemy, places a shield buff for 2 turns on the allies with the lowest HP. So this whole Sylvan Watch protects the lowest HP people. They protect people, looks like. They're protectors. The value of the shield is equal to 15% of the allies' max HP. His A2 is Vitrolic Thorns. Attacks all enemies, has an 80% chance of removing all buffs, places 5% poison debuff for 2 turns on each enemy for each buff removed from them. Has an 80% chance of removing all. So he cleanses all your buffs off and then puts poisons on. Places a poison or 1 poison for 2 turns on each enemy for each buff removed. Okay, so multiple poisons according to how many buffs you remove. I got you. Also has an 80% chance of placing a block buffs debuff on all enemies. Jeez. He removes all the buffs, then puts on poisons and a block buffs debuff. Jeez, man. These guys are not playing around. They're going to come in with a vengeance. So his A3 is Hypertrophy and removes all debuffs from all allies. He cleanses, places a 50% continuous heal for each ally on each ally for each debuff removed from them. Also places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. The value of shield is equal to 25% of this champion's max HP. His passive is Brumble Shaman, and whenever an enemy under a poison debuff attacks an ally under a shield buff, instantly activates 1 poison debuff on that enemy. Also instantly activates 1 continuous heal buff on the attacked ally. So not only are you killing yourself because you have all these poisons and you instantly explode them, but you're instantly healing me. Jeez, man. And with the other champion putting decreased attack, man, that's insane. Mishinaki, a legendary magic affinity defensive type Shadowkin. Oh, he's Shadowkin. His A1 is Burning Bonds, attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of placing the HP burn debuff for 2 turns. His A2 is Dire Whirl and attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff, and also has a 75% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns on enemies under Hex debuff. Oh, they're trying to make Hex work. His A3 is Doubled Degeneracy. Attacks all enemies 2 times. First attack removes all debuffs, and the second hit places Hex debuff. This squad loves removing and replacing buffs with debuffs. It's crazy. His passive is Cursor of Curses, and whenever an ally attacks an enemy under a Hex debuff, this champion has a 50% chance to team up and join the ally attack. He's ally attacker. It's conditional if you have Hex on you, but it's pretty cool. Aura increases ally defense in all battles for 30%. So those are the legendaries. There's also the epics, and I'm not going to go through all of those, but these are all the epics. Lady Annabelle, those all look really cool. I can't wait to try them out. Man, this is an exciting time. So we went over a lot of the legendary champs for the new faction. So that's it for the new champions. Definitely excited to test them out, try them out, and be able to play them. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative to you. If you liked it, please thumbs up. It'll help me out with the algorithm so much. And please like, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. All right. Peace.